there, welcome to my channel. So tonight we're getting ready to fry up this big beef heart that I picked up from the butcher shop. It's sitting in my fridge. I had it sitting in there for a few days. Anyway, we're gonna slice it. I know there's a lot of people that don't like beef heart, but I'm actually one of those people that do. And so, yeah, we're just gonna see how it goes. I have never made one since I've been married, but we made them at home. We lived on a farm at home, so my mom was used to it. She would pressure cook them, but I don't have a pressure cooker. So I'm just going to slice it and fry it. And put it with mushrooms and peppers, and yeah, just see how it turns out. I'm eager to try. Baby's doing good. If you don't know, I'm 25 weeks pregnant. So yeah, just trying to get by through each day. I've been really sick, but today's a pretty good day. So decided I'm gonna cook up a nice supper. My children, they're waking up from their naps. So we're going to cook some supper. I just wanted to show you my little diffuser I got. I just recently got this. I picked it up at an Amish store. Yeah, it's essential oils. Right now I have orange in it. So it smells so good. And you can actually make this different colors. So yeah, I've been having fun with it these last little while. So I gotta have it on green now, I guess. But yeah, I love my scents. Okay, so here's my heart. This is just what it looks like. Had a little slice there. I guess it happened from the butcher. But I'm going to try. I don't think this knife is very sharp. I'm going to try to slice it in thin pieces here. Okay, so I'm not sure if this is the way it's supposed to be done or not, but I'm going to fry them on here. I'm going to roll them first in this flour. Just want to spread my grease all over my pan. Make sure that nothing's going to be sticking, because that would be a disaster. Okay, so I only did about half the heart. One heart it's gigantic for us. There's only 2 adults in our family and 2 small children, so might as well not waste all that meat. So I stuck the rest of it back in the freezer, and I don't know what I'll do with it. I don't know, maybe make a roast or a stew out of it. But yeah, this is the way I'm going to do it tonight. I'm going to roll in flour, and then the plan is to saute peppers and mushrooms together with some batter. And yeah, bake it in the oven. I'm not sure, maybe 30 to 45 minutes. I'm sure there's people watching me shaking their heads, thinking how awful that sounds, that they know better. And yeah, just let it in the comments how I should do it, how you would do it. I was just looking up different recipes online, and yeah, so this is the way I decided I'm going to do it. I don't have a pressure canner, and I have no plans of buying a pressure canner. I'm kind of scared of those things. So yeah, we're just going to do it this way tonight, and I don't know how I'll do the rest. Okay, so I'm going to add a little more oil. Oil drains out pretty quick, especially when I have it fry things that have flour in. Flour tends to soak up everything. Before I flip, I'm going to season these things. I'll probably season on both sides. So right now I'm going to just add plain salt. Now we're going to add some garlic powder. I usually use garlic powder for beef, ground beef. So I guess I'll use it on the heart too. See how it turns out. Okay, now I'm just gonna add a touch of seasoned salt. And I'll probably just only add seasoned salt to this one side, because there's already so many spices in it. Like, I have salt, I have garlic powder. So we're just gonna add seasoned salt to the one side. Hopefully that'll be good enough. Then for a little bit of hotness, I'm gonna add some red pepper flakes. Maybe I should add red pepper flakes when I'm baking it. But it'd probably be better to add them now. That way the children, they can fry a little bit and children won't. Oh my goodness. It's about empty. Yeah, the more I fry these little flakes, then the less there are for the children to get burned. Okay, I'm gonna go ahead and flip these now. Actually, I think a fork would actually work better. So I just left them brown, as you can see. It smells so yummy. Kind of smells like beef liver, if you know what that is. Yeah, just thicker slices, I guess. If I had a sharper knife, I probably could have gotten these even thinner. I was hoping to get them ultra thin, but oh my, that didn't work. So I'm gonna turn my burner down. It's way too high. So here's my peppers and my mushrooms. They're just cooking in the butter. I would like to get these pretty tender. And then I'm going to add cream of mushroom soup right before I put it to the meat. So we'll just let that boil. I have my two little children here that wanted to come join me in the kitchen. Achoo! 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 So they just woke up from their naps. Still a little groggy-eyed. Kaylee, no, don't make the water come out. But yeah, we're gonna finish our dinner, our meal here in the kitchen, and yeah, probably relax till my husband gets home. Yeah. I decided I'm gonna add a little salt to these. Mommy. What? Okay, so here is my finished product. So I'm so tickled how beautiful it turned out. Kaylee, what's the matter? Hi. Mommy's making supper. Yeah, we just cooked down the peppers and the mushrooms down until they were tender. Added some mushroom soup. And fish. Fish? Yeah. This is heart, beef heart. Yes, beef heart. Fish. Welcome to another day in the kitchen. Today I'm making cheesy hamburger soup. Here I'm starting out with a pound of meat, and I also cubed some peppers and onions for it. So I'm going to saute them together till everything's nice and tender, and then I will add my seasonings. I'm adding plain salt, also garlic powder, and then ground black pepper. In the meantime, I was busy making homemade bread. This is like the second time I've made bread, I think, since I'm married. And this bread recipe is what I use, is what my mom used when I was growing up. It calls for oatmeal, so it's a little bit of a heavier bread, but it's still delicious. I'm adding flour. The oatmeal has gotten soft in the warm milk and yeast. So I'm adding my flour here, just gonna stir it in a pan. My mother would knead her bread on the kitchen table, but for me, I don't like the mess, so I'm just gonna try to keep everything in one big dish pan. was a little sticky after I had added all the flour that it called for. So I ended up adding a little bit more flour than what the recipe actually called for, which is quite common with this recipe. So I'm just kneading it with my hands here, trying to make little mess as possible on the counter because I do not like a flour mess on my counter. And then I ended up just spraying my pan and adding that dough that was still quite warm. Okay, so I threw this tea towel over my dough. I'm going to put it in an oven. Usually I heat my oven to at least 170 degrees. So we're going to let it heat up and then turn it off. And that way it'll be warm, nice and toasty, and the bread will rise faster. So now I came back to my soup here. My meat is finished frying. The peppers and onions are nice and soft. I'm adding cubed carrots and potatoes. There was a little water that I had added to the potatoes, but I am also adding some beef broth. I turned my burner down pretty low and just gonna let this cook nice and slowly so that the flavors can get all through the soup. I'm adding some more seasoned salt. I had not seasoned my potatoes, but I had seasoned the meat pretty good. So I'm adding some bay leaves. I think bay leaves just give it an extra flavor that I really like. I just end up picking them out then when it's time to dish up. I also added some broccoli to my soup. The recipe actually did not call for broccoli, but I had so much fresh broccoli, I decided I'm just going to add a little bit, but I ended up chopping them into pretty tiny chunks because my children cannot have too much of a chunk, and the smaller the broccoli is, the easier it'll be for them to chew. So we're just going to add our broccoli to the soup. Make sure, try to stir it in. I should have started out with a bigger kettle, but I didn't. So I'm going to make do with what I have. Try not to make too much of a broth mess on the burner. Actually worked out pretty good. And my soup boiled down pretty nicely. So I have a little more space in that kettle. My little girl, like normal, has to come into the kitchen and see what her mama's doing, especially when the stove is on. Here I'm adding some mushroom soup. This will give it a richer, creamier flavor, I think. And then I added a little bit of Velveeta cheese after the mushroom soup had cooked a little bit. Now I'm finished with my soup and ready to dish up for lunch. Kaylee's still sitting on the counter waiting for her soup. There she goes with her little dish. Doesn't want her mama to forget about her. Oh, my little girl, she loves food and she loves to eat and she loves the kitchen. She's like, Mommy, I'm here, my dish. Don't forget me. Oh, my goodness. I also ended up adding some cheese chunks and some small pretzels that I had on hand. I just think cheese chunks and pretzels go so well with a hot soup lunch. Here's my finished product. The soup turned out splendidly. It was the first time I had made this type of soup, and it was so yummy and so fulfilling. Okay, the children are in their beds sleeping, and I need to make my bread. It's been rising for several hours. So I got my bread pans out. I also got a small casserole dish out because I would like to make some dinner rolls with whatever extra dough I have left over. So I'm just spraying oil in my pan so that the bread don't stick when it bakes. You can see my bread actually rise pretty nicely. I was so impressed with how it turned out because I don't think of myself as a baker. But this bread turned out beautifully, I had thought. And it's quite easy to make too. I was a little worried about how making bread and being pregnant would actually work because I get so tired and so sick if I do too much. But there were enough pauses and breaks in between making this bread that I barely felt anything after I was finished. I had to warm my milk, and then I had to wait for that to cool down. So I had time to rest until it was time to add the yeast and the water. And then after I added the yeast and the water, I had to wait until it was cooled down a little more. So I added the flour, and then when I added the flour, just lots of breaks in between. I got another break after this till the dough rises. So before it's time to bake. So yeah, it actually wasn't too bad, and I want to make it again sometime soon. Here's me cutting my little tiny little buns. But they raised about twice this size, I'd say. And my children, we really enjoyed them. They were nice little dinner rolls. I don't know if my husband ate one of these or not. But he told me the bread, it was good. So he's a picky eater. So when he tells me something's good, that makes me pretty happy. Okay, so I'm going to wait a couple hours before it's time to bake them. And here, we are ready to bake. They turned out so beautifully. Now, if I can only get them in the oven without them falling down. Oh, my. Okay, so here's my bread. I went and baked this loaf about 2 minutes longer than I did this loaf. And my buns here, they turned out beautifully. I rubbed some butter on them after I was finished baking. So it tastes very nice. We had put maple syrup on it. It's kind of maple butter syrup or whatever. It's kind of like a butter cinnamon thing or whatever. It don't have cinnamon in, but it's sort of that type of thing. So yeah, I was using this knife. It works great to slice the bread. So all in all, I'm really happy with my bread success today.